So Maya, thank you so much for accept our invitation to do this online interview and that you also agreed to have your film on the festival in the curatorial team. We really, really loved it, and we had a very vivid discussion about watching the film. So, and I don't know if you know, but we at the after we decided to have a whole section on Iraq because we
Oh, wow.
realized, yeah, because we realized that we don't know anything about contemporary Iraq and what's going on there. And we had three very, very strong films coming from the region. So I wanted to ask you about your connection to Iraq and what did you know about the country as you live in Switzerland, as far as
Mm.
I know. How did you get to this story to Iraq itself?
Yeah. First of all, thanks so much for giving this film a platform and these stories of these two young Iraqis because I came from the same place. I didn't have so much ideas what's going on in Iraq. I'm a political activist since a very long time, so I got politicized also through the anti-Iraq war movement 2003. There I first started to think about this is a global problem like capitalism and exploitation, blah. But then I also forgot about Iraq, like nearly everybody. Like we know war, we know ISIS, and that's it. And then when I was in Berlin, I was in a workshop where a lot of different political activists from all over the world came together and we talked about our work, what we are doing. And there was a Iraqi activist from Baghdad. And it was 2019 where the Tishreen uprising, like what my film is about, was on its peak. And it was a year, maybe you remember, where a lot of movements happened in South America, like in the Arab region. Some people really said, like, is it like a second Arab Spring? And so I was super surprised that I didn't hear anything about the biggest protest since 2003 in Iraq. So I started to do interviews with this activist, and then we decided to do a film together because on social media it's very clear that there is an outcry for visibility, and because I knew, fuck, I also didn't see them. We have to do something, and I really would love to see a film about that. Why not try to to find money in Switzerland to do something in Iraq and to do it in a collaboration with Iraqi activists? And so the film started like that, and because somehow Iraq is a chiffre for war and for ISIS, and so it triggered a lot of things in me. I mean, it was not a place that was completely unknown for me, but I knew probably it's very different than what I know about Iraq. So I went with this activist, and we started to meet a lot of other activists, and then he had to withdraw from the film project because it was too dangerous for him. So I continued because I already felt I was deep into the research and somehow it's needed to tell the story, even though I had a lot of doubts and open questions that I'm an outsider and from Switzerland. And this is we have to deal with this question very carefully. But somehow I felt if I would stop, it would be the wrong decision because then no one would let them or no one would tell the story. And this is unjust, but still, we have to talk about it. So that's how, like, a big, big relationship with this country and this young generation started. And today, Milo and Avin are living with me in Berlin.
Okay,
Like, yeah,
wow.
so
Okay, we'll get to
it
this
will
as well.
change our lives somehow.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. You found two very, very strong let's say three, but in the film you are focusing more on
Yeah.
two very strong young protagonists. How did you find them and ended up choosing them to film them?
First I found Khalili, and this was a female photographer who became a photographer in the revolution. I was really interested in her, and me and this activist, we met her, and she made me a list with activists who were documenting with their cameras. So from the beginning, I knew I want to have young people who documented themselves, to have also on visual level and eye level that they bring something into the film at me. So So I met a lot of guys because like women are not that much able to document because they have to fight so much to participate in the in the squares. But I can tell about that later. So I found Khalili in these first like meetings with activists, and he was super traumatized still, and he told me a lot that like he would still go to the revolution even though he nearly died, and he actually wanted to die for a good cause instead of having this shitty life. And somehow I realized he brings a lot of things together. I knew from other people, young people in Iraq, like this depression out of trauma, but still kind of super hopeful that they can change their future. And then like he confined me like, or like he entrusted me his hard drive with 70 hours of footage. And I think this moment was the beginning of the project because I didn't have money, nothing, no production company, but his trust was exactly the deal what I searched for, like this collaboration that he said, look, I want that the world sees that. And if somebody says such a sentence, it means they are living not in a center of power. They are living like in a place where other powers dominate them. Otherwise, you don't say like I want that everybody sees it. So I felt okay, let's make this visible. And for him, it was also a relief that somebody is taking care of the material. And he has this very strong story because he was in the front lines. He was a very famous activist also. So it was quite difficult to find a female protagonist with the same depth and strength. Because like a lot of women were in Tahrir Square, and also from my experience living in Iraq, I tried to live in Iraq also for that time. It's difficult as a woman. It's a challenge. So I felt I really need to show how women have first to overcome patriarchal rules, to participate in a protest, to ask, like, or to demand something, or to confront the state. And boys, they can directly go to the squares and put like their demands. So I was searching for a while because a lot of women were not able to show a lot in front of the camera because of family problems or because they lost already so much in the revolution. And then through a friend, she's a friend of this first activist I got to know. She recommended me I should meet Milo, and it was clear from the first moment that she is such a strong character. She can be on eye level with Khalili, who is such a strong character in a very different way, and that Milo is also. She was super willing to be in the film, but she said from the beginning also it's dangerous to make a film with me. So from then on, it was clear we have to talk about security measurements because her family obviously doesn't know that she made this film.
Yeah. And from the very beginning, already, I think in the credits, it's stated that the two main protagonists are co-writers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also write, which I'm very grateful for at the very beginning, that there are some scenes you needed to recreate because of safety reasons and because you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't film. And this I really appreciate because I feel that you are also very ethical towards me as the audience.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious about the process. How did you shape the storyline? And so just to, I don't know if everyone who will watch this talk already seen the film, and maybe we just make them, interested in the film. So the
I will.
two strong protagonists, Milo has a lot of reenacted scenes, or that's how I felt, and there's a
Mhm.
very strong narration throughout the whole part. And then Khalili, he's showing a lot from his own footage, documenting himself, and you have a very strong interview with him, which is really striking. So I was
Mhm.
wondering, like, how did this structure of the film shaped, and how they
Mhm.
took part in writing it?
Mhm. I started this film without this idea, like to do reenactments. It really came out of all these problems, and I learned a lot from Iranian filmmakers. Because if you film in a country where censorship is happening, and in Iraq you don't have censorship directly from the state, but because it's dangerous if you do wrong things, you I discovered that then you need these creative tools to tell a story that is true. You see it with your eyes, but if you just follow a character with like a fly on the wall, you will never capture all the conflicts women are
Mhm.
going through. So the the reenactment started actually with Milo's disappearance. So when I was searching for funding, she disappeared for 2 weeks and no one knew if she's still alive. And this was really it hit me hard because yeah, I don't know, to have a protagonist that could die during the process of the film, but not because of the film, but because she just has this crazy life. This yeah, kind of taught me that her biggest conflict is actually with her family and not being an activist. So you always have to tell the strongest conflict of a character because still she's an activist. You can feel it. And then we were searching ways how to show that she could disappear every second and to make a film about people who have a voice, who raise a voice, who want to be visible. The whole film is about the question of visibility. And women are not as visible as men in Iraq. So we decided together, okay, let's try to make this conflict visible, which is so striking when we are there and we see it every day. So I asked Milo, what do you think if you just disappear in the film as you did it before during the financing process? Because it could happen anyway. Like every morning on set, we didn't know, could she come or not? Or is she all locked up again? So it was always this tension. And yeah, and then the first reenactment scene was when Alvin sits in the car and she's searching for Milo, just the way she did it when it happened. And I just gave them like I organized the setup, but they said it was like this, it was like this, da, da, da. And then they improvised. And after this shooting, Alvin told me it was like yesterday. This is our story. And I realized, okay, the feelings are so fresh because they don't have space to tell these stories to other people. So we could work with it as a tool to make things visible. And then we started that. And I used then also this technique for a little bit for Khalili's story, but less. And this crazy interview you were talking about, where Khalil is really talking deeply from his trauma and also like from his belief that he should change something. This was like a self-confession. I wasn't there. I just told him, look, please continue filming until I have money. And he didn't do anything but this. He filmed himself where he just told his whole story. And in the editing process, it was not easy to combine the stories. First, I want to intertwine it, but then I realized, no, every character needs an own rhythm and space. And his material was also very difficult because it was a riot, like 70 hours riots and playing cats and how mouse and cats game with the police like yeah, I don't know, like this is how you say in German. So like this interview gave us the structure for his arc, so that's how we built in the whole story.
I mean, Khalili's footage is it's shocking, but it's also so striking because you feel like you are in the middle
Yeah,
of it all. It was almost like a computer game.
yeah.
You know, like I've never seen something so striking like these footages, and also because many times we see these kind of footages from protests, but of course because these people have no good camera, they only use their phone. It's not such a good footage, but this even like elevates the whole feeling because Khalili has a very good camera
Yeah.
most of the time, and because he's so passionate, as you said, he really risks his life. And then there is this moment when a soldier points his gun into the camera and then he shoots us
Hmm.
in a way.
Yeah.
Like that was the moment when I felt that everyone has to watch this film. And I understand now what you said, that he told you that he wants everyone to see this footage.
Hmm.
So it also means that he is a filmmaker, but he's not editing his own film, he's only
Exactly.
documenting.
Yeah, he said when I asked him why he's not doing it himself, he said at the moment I don't feel strong enough to do that, and it's not safe in Iraq. And there I felt sometimes you exactly need these collaborations from an insider and an outsider to create a safe space where you can talk about something when it's still not safe to talk about it in Iraq. And I mean then the question of co-authorship was because from the beginning it was clear that they had a voice. They were in the street, they knew where they are, and they were also talking about themselves in the streets or in the protest as characters. So what you mentioned with these games, they were inspired by a certain game. It's called PUBG game. They even called themselves PUBG generation. This is a shooter game, and like somehow like, yeah, it was weird. It was something between pure reality of confronting a state that kills you, and on the other side it was kind of this playful youth thing, but they were playing with their lives. And this is something what also was shocking for me in Iraq, that because they are so used to loss and death, that they have a playful way to deal with it sometimes. And this is shocking for us from Europe, but somehow I could understand that this is a consequence of their grown up like or like growing up through wars. And yeah, so talking with them about these characters was very easy to say, okay, you now you also have the character on the screen, and it doesn't have to be your whole personality. So how do we, what is the message of this character? How, what can we show? And my, as a director, my responsibility was to tell them always, you have now a relationship with the audience, and if you don't tell them your deep desire or your deep conflict, the audience will not understand you properly. So, because yeah, in front of the camera, everybody starts to be a bit hesitant. Oh no, what should I? Or shy. So my work was to push them to really tell them, look, we need to understand you, and for that you have to show yourself. And then they created this personality they wanted to show, and I really, I mean, I had to give them the freedom because I'm not from Iraq. I cannot control. The only thing what I did is like journalism, that when they said I came in this conflict or this, I just talked with other people to see, is it something that is usually happening, or is it kind of common sense? Because truth in a state, in a failed state like Iraq with so much fake news, it's also quite a difficult question, what is true? So the subjective perspective was a solution to tell this story, and then I just did the backup with journalists and politicians.
You mentioned more times already that you are very aware of safety, like the that there is important to have a safety measurement. So what exactly did you do, or what you couldn't do, what you couldn't include the film during the shooting? What did you have to be aware of, or like after the shooting, how to protect them?
Yeah, I mean, there was like the protection, like, or the security measurements were like had two layers. The simple layer was, in some neighborhoods it was just this very dangerous to film, so we needed military escort, or we also had a shooting permission from the government, which was really crazy because the technocrat government short after the revolution was a different one than today, and they were more progressive or more open for Western journalists. So, like, yeah, this was just like organizing things properly, because sometimes you still have like threats from ISIS that there would be a bomb attack. You have to be aware of these things. And this was I was working with an Iraqi producer who did an amazing job in that. And then, because Iraq is not a place where, or because it's still a failed state, there are rules, democratic rules or laws, but very often they cannot be implemented. So you have situations where militias or armed groups can just yeah, put you in danger or kill you for something you did because they don't like it. But actually, the law would protect you. And this is, of course, when you do a film about protests, criticizing the government too much, or criticizing like external powers who have a say in this like country, like Iran. We couldn't, or I would have loved to criticize Iran more for what they do in Iraq, but this wouldn't be safe. And also, like, we were very cautious with all the rights of activists, women, and LGBTQ, because this is also something where, like, in the last years, the yeah, the laws, like they implemented laws against the LGBTQ people, which are connected with really high fines, and they even wanted to implement a death punishment, but now they couldn't. That was like kind of cancelled, and also like they implemented a new religious law, which is really can be really hurting all the women's rights, and so we were not so clear about all these questions because we make this film about activists and a very progressive movement that was kind of involving all of these questions. Um, if it would be dangerous when we published the film. So we were like it was a back and forth with the producer in Iraq, with all the protagonists and with the crew. Um, how far can we go? And at the beginning, we thought maybe we cannot even show the film in Iraq. And then, like after a while, we discovered, yeah, maybe it's possible. BBC Arabic showed it, nothing happened. We showed the trailer, nothing happened. So it's really like it's always testing and seeing how far you can go. But yeah, we had these red lines where yeah, the Iraqi way, as they told me, is just show it, don't claim it. And
Yeah.
so we did it.
No, I really like that you like the relationship between the protagonists, the two girls, you were very gentle about it. Like you can feel things, but nothing is explicitly said. So I really appreciated that as well. Um, and especially why I was very curious about this, like how did you take care of your protagonists? Is because a, very early in the film you understand that what you already mentioned, that these people are not only against, especially women, are not only against the government, but many times against their own family, the
Mm.
fathers, and that there is this scene in the film when Milo is talking to another girl and she's showing like the cut on the neck, which is done by her own father, who is chaining her into her own room for 5 months, imprisoning her. And then we know that Milo's clothes and passport is burned by her own father. So that gives the whole film another layer,
Mhm.
that they also have to fight these very traditional beliefs in some of
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
families.
yeah. And the interesting thing about Iraq is that for women, everything depends on your family. So you see in the film kind of like three types of women, Milo and Aya, like the woman you mentioned, who really have these tribe families and honor killings still, yeah, they do honor killings, and they are representing the honor of the family, and it's very difficult. And the state is usually not protecting these women from the family. It's always like they say, the police would say like, oh, it's a family issue. And then you have the women like Avin, like Milo's friend, who has a family who is okay with her working, with her going out. She doesn't have to wear a hijab. And then you have this lawyer who is fighting for the passport for Milo, and she is coming from a very open-minded family and a powerful family which supports her. So this shows that in Iraq you can be a very strong woman, but only if your family allows you to do that. So the problem Milo or Aya have is that they are women who don't want to follow maybe some rules your family gives you, and then they are in danger because their families could kill them. And this is unfortunately still 20% of the women are like Milo and Aya. And we wanted to show Aya in the film not to shock or not to say like Iraq is still a very patriarchal shitty place, but like we wanted to show that also Milo's fate could be the same like Aya's, because we couldn't show Milo's family, so we wanted to show what can happen to women in Iraq if they are exposed to a very conservative tribe family, and then sometimes it's not even religious; it's a culture. Yeah, so yeah, it's and what also was important is because we see so much violence in the story of Khalili, we needed a counterpart of like like the violence against women. And even though it's not nice to see that, but the gravity of the stories were like we had to give both stories a gravity in violence, that the stories are on eye level.
And you found a very beautiful way that we see it through Milo. So
Hmm.
she is talking to this girl. But that's why I was also a bit surprised that you got shooting permission in Iraq. I was imagining and even checking when I was rewatching the film that when you're shooting on the street with the girls, no one is passing. So I thought it's
Yeah,
all secrecy. So I was also just wondering that you, as a woman, being there, if I'm right, that your camera person is a man,
yeah, yeah.
but you are a woman there with a camera crew. So how were you perceived by the authorities, but by also just the bypassers, on the street when they saw you shooting?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the good thing when I arrived as a woman without any money and nothing, it was it was they didn't take me serious. No one took me serious, and I think this was my freedom
Yeah.
because then I could kind of no one expected something dangerous from me, and so I started as a tourist, and then I found through Khalili Mohammed this production like this producer with this production company, and he was the one who opened all the doors, and he was the one who said, yeah, I was clear I don't want to film something secretly because it's more dangerous, and also I wanted to make a beautiful, strong film with strong imagery from Iraq, and not this what we know from all these war movies in the Arab Spring or like. So for that you need a big camera and a shooting permission. So he organized all that, and I still felt when I talked to the security, like to the prime minister, like media minister, that they still didn't take me so serious. Um, and later, yeah, I mean, as a woman to navigate through Baghdad was very difficult. Also, like I experienced harassment on the street because, like, as a European woman, they think you're very available, like, and you don't have family there. So it's actually it was the opposite than what I expected. I expected, maybe they think. I'm like, or this, the balance, like the imperial power people come and they represent something, but actually I represented more access to sexuality,
Mhm.
like because yeah, it was. But on the other hand, when I had Mohammed and when I had the Iraqi crew, I felt. I had a lot of freedom. They were so supportive, and this is a bit the trick in Iraq. Like you always need a man on your side as a woman to do things. But if you find the right one, you have a lot of possibilities. And I think I was just lucky to find Khalili and then Mohammed and a very, very good team. And they gave me such a safe space to be a director there, that I felt in the team very safe as a woman. But on the streets and when I was alone, it was difficult. And but these difficulties helped me to understand my female protagonists. It
Mhm.
was also important.
And you also said that you were living for a while in Iraq. Like, how long was this?
Yeah, I mean, like I was always before the crew came, I was maybe a month there. So I was not living like on in one piece, but when I count it together, it's maybe like 10 months where I was in Baghdad. And at the beginning I was in a hotel, and then I realized I don't want to be like a journalist. I want to dive into their lives, and I want to know what it means if I go back home in my apartment in Baghdad. And this is something difficult for women. And so I lived alone. First, it was I got in a yeah, bad situation where neighbors entered my apartment in the middle of the night, and then I realized, yeah, this is what can happen. Like if you live alone as a woman, and then I had to move to another place where it was more safe. And on the way there, I learned, the neighbors are very important. You have to see who is living around you, even if the place itself it seems to be safe. You're always depending on the landlord, and if something happens, the police would not help me. I cannot go out in the streets alone at night. So, yeah, so this was important, and then yeah, so it gave me this experience to live in Baghdad for a while, even though I went back to reorganize a new shooting in between.
It's actually beautiful how you say that you immediately learn this microcosmos that you need to learn, like build around you. And this is what we also see on your protagonists, that they have their people around them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's such a community place in Iraq, and this is also what I learned. That's the beauty of the experience I had there. That I have now friendships and relationships that are so deep and existential because you have to help each other so much. I didn't experience something like that in Europe because we can be more independent. Because in the worst case, we say, okay, let's ask a lawyer or the state, and they try to represent our rights. But if you're in a place where no one is willing to represent your rights, you have to find your allies. And this was a very nice experience. And you find a lot of cool allies in Iraq. Yeah.
I really like how your film starts with, like, I feel that it's full of hope. Like there is this Tahrir, we are in 2019, Tahrir Beach says the note, and you
Mm.
feel so much freedom and power and hope. and then the whole revolution is beautiful, and then it's crushed, and then you see all the violence, and then towards the end there's again some kind of hope, or at least this is how I felt it, like Khalili is back with his camera and people are occupying the parliament, and even if it's a bit scary of these all these men talking about how they're gonna follow their leaders, which is
Mm.
something scary for me as a European, but still you feel again the power of the people, that something can change, while we see Milo alone on the bus station leaving the country. So it's very, very mixed feelings throughout the whole film and very wavy. And I
Mm-mm.
felt that this is how you also try to show me how they feel, like sometimes hopeful, sometimes crashed, sometimes hopeful again. So I just wanted to ask you, like after working on this film and getting to know so many young Iraqis, what do you see as their future or the future of their country?
Well, it's a very difficult question, but I'm super happy that you see the hope in the end, because for me it's also a very hopeful ending, even though they end with their dilemmas, like Milo not knowing what should she leave behind to start a new life. Because as an activist, you never want to leave your place, you want to fight. So what does that mean? And Khalili, who still is eager to document, but the movement changed because now it's a conservative movement and not a progressive one. But still, they have still this power in themselves to change something. And yeah, so I mean, I had this discussion with Mohammed, the producer, like maybe a half a year ago. We were in Locarno Film Festival together because now, after 5 years, it's very difficult to talk about this protest in Iraq because the new government really like kind of makes it dangerous, and also there is a counter-revolutionary campaign like that is working in the last 4 years, that these are only like yeah, alcoholics, drug addicts, homosexuals in the squares, and this was nothing like worth it to protest, which was very different during the protest. 70% of Iraqi people were supportive in like for this protest. Um, so people who are traumatized started to also talk bad about the protest. They felt like it was in vain. We gave so much like health, like strength, activism, and nothing changed. But then when I had this talk with Mohammed, he said, no, no, actually a lot changed. And this was interesting because he said the government, and this is also the impression I got when I was there, they were super scared that this happened, that this young generation could take control 6 months of major places in all the cities in the south. And so what they did is, because it was also kind of a very like a social revolution where people express themselves, they created a lot of new possibilities to get money for art, filmmaking. So somehow there is a change that they can start to tell their stories in a like, or they can just start to tell their stories. And before it was very corrupt, and yeah, still like for me it was always this movement was about a war torn country that like very young generation starts to say, but we're also civil society with civil rights. And now they come together, and like yeah, there are these tools and these new tools of funding, how like how they can start to express their voices. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, of course, like every protest, even after a crazy crackdown, it will change something because it changed all these people. And when I did my first research, the most striking thing was that everybody I asked, old and young, were saying what they learned from the protest is to say no. And I mean, you never know what this means in an individual life. Sometimes it's a no to your parents, sometimes it's a no to the government. But if you experience that you once were so strong to say no, you will never forget that. And also the people who witnessed you will not forget that. So at the moment, it looks difficult for Iraq for activists because it's really harsh. The new government is really harsh on like it's repressive. But I think through the stabilization, if not Israel, Iran will now again involve Iraq as a like, or the war will not also affect Iraq. I think. like yeah, a new young generation will come back with protests because they didn't get what they wanted and they didn't get a perspective. And more than half of Iraqi population is under 25, so they have a lot of
So
strength. They will come back and they will ask for their rights. And this is something what I really believe in, that we are not like people will not give up if life is not good. But yeah, it's harsh in Iraq at the moment, and that's why it's also important to have an eye on it because Iraq is between all these new shifts in the Middle East between Iran, Israel, and the Gulf states. And but yeah, hopefully, like it will stay stable, and then we probably will see a next generation.
this is beautiful and really hopeful as well.
Yeah.
Maybe just to end our talk, can I ask you about your protagonists? Like, what do you know about them? How are they right now?
Yeah, Khalili got married. I mean, you saw it in the film, the engagement, but he already got divorced. It was
Okay.
maybe a bit too early. I mean, they loved each other, but in Iraq, you have to marry to really be together. So it can happen that it doesn't work. But he's okay. He's working for Toyota as a video manager, so he continued to working as a filmmaker, but he's not involved in any activism at the moment. But he's doing fine. And Milo and Avin, they are, as I said, in Berlin. They got asylum. They build up their lives here. Avin wants to study archaeology, and Milo, she wants to be a social worker. And yeah, like now they are safe and they are also like in a good like contact with their families or with part of their families. So I'm really happy that I can tell you this was a happy ending because like in so many parts on the way we didn't know can they leave the country or not and how because if they couldn't we could not publish the film. So yeah, now like I'm happy and it's really nice that I can have them in my life because it's not possible for me to go back to Iraq because of security.
Yeah. Does this mean that Milo's father saw the film?
I think no.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
but
would
he
be too
knows.
much,
He
right?
knows. But I think he doesn't want to
Yeah,
watch it.
maybe
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for the talk. And
Thank you so much.
I hope
And
that the Hungarian audience will watch the film and then listen to
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And hopefully till next year or another
Yes.
year. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.